The snow was falling harder than anyone expected. It was late evening in downtown Chicago. Streets were nearly empty. Wind pushed sharp waves of snow across the sidewalks. Most people had already rushed home to safety. Inside her warm office on the 32nd floor, CEO Victoria Hale was finishing her final call of the night. Powerful, respected, feared in boardrooms, but tonight, she was tired. As she walked out of the building toward her car, something unusual caught her eye. Across the street, near a closed cafe, a small figure sitting alone on a bench, covered in snow. Victoria stopped. At first she thought it was just a pile of coats or trash bags blown by the wind. But then it moved. It was a little girl, no older than 8, curled up, shivering, trying to shield her face from the freezing wind. Victoria felt a strange pull in her chest. She crossed the street quickly. "Hey, sweetheart, what are you doing out here?" The girl looked up slowly. Her cheeks were red from the cold. Snowflakes clung to her hair. In a weak voice, she said, "Mom said, you're the only one who can help us." Victoria froze. "What?" The girl swallowed. She said, "If anything ever happens, find Victoria Hale." That was her name. Victoria's heart started racing. "How do you know my name?" "My mom used to work for you," the girl whispered. "A long time ago." The wind howled between buildings. Victoria quickly took off her coat and wrapped it around the child. "Where is your mother?" The girl pointed weakly down the street. "She's sick." In the car. Without another question, Victoria picked the girl up and rushed toward where she pointed. A broken-down old car sat half-buried in snow near the curb. Inside, a woman lay across the front seat, pale and barely conscious. Victoria recognized her instantly. Emma Rodriguez. A former employee. Brilliant. Hardworking. She had left the company years ago after sudden health problems. Victoria felt a wave of guilt. She remembered the day Emma resigned. She had been too busy to ask questions. Too busy to notice. Victoria immediately called emergency services and stayed beside the car, shielding both mother and child from the wind until help arrived. At the hospital, doctors confirmed Emma had severe complications but would recover with proper treatment. The little girl refused to leave Victoria's side. "Mom said you helped her once," the girl said quietly in the waiting room. Victoria frowned. "Helped her how?" She said, "When everyone doubted her, you promoted her. You believed in her." Victoria barely remembered the moment. For her, it had been just another decision. For Emma, it had meant everything. She always said, "If we were ever in trouble, you wouldn't turn us away." Victoria's throat tightened. She had built an empire worth billions. But she had forgotten how much a single act of belief could matter. When Emma finally woke up, she looked confused, then relieved, when she saw Victoria sitting there. "I didn't know who else to call," Emma whispered weakly. "You didn't," Victoria replied softly. "But your daughter did." Silence filled the room. Snow continued falling outside the hospital window. That night changed everything. Victoria arranged full medical support for Emma. But she didn't stop there. She discovered Emma had been struggling quietly for years after losing her health insurance. Victoria reviewed her company policies. Within weeks, she launched a new foundation. Emergency support for former employees and their families during crisis situations. She personally funded winter shelter programs across the city. But the most important change wasn't corporate. It was personal. Every weekend, Victoria visited Emma and her daughter. Sometimes bringing books. Sometimes bringing groceries. Sometimes just bringing herself. One snowy afternoon months later, Victoria stood by the same bench where she had first seen the little girl. But this time, they stood together, laughing as snow fell gently around them. The girl looked up and smiled. "Mom said you saved us." Victoria shook her head softly. "No," she said, "you saved me." Because in the middle of a blizzard, when the world felt cold and distant, a small voice reminded a powerful CEO what warmth truly meant. And sometimes, the strongest leaders aren't the ones who control companies. They're the ones who stop walking when they see someone sitting alone in the storm. Snowflake Blue Heart.